Does facing the reading section of the IELTS exam have you worried? Are you overwhelmed thinking about the task of answering 40 questions from 3 different academic passages in just 60 minutes, knowing you need to get at least 32 correct for a band score of 7? You don't have to feel this way. I'm going to share my top 3 tips for the reading section, and if you follow and practice my advice, you may just get the score you need. So let's get started with tip number 1. Don't try to understand everything. The most common question I get is, do I have to understand everything? Well, no, you don't. This is not your goal in the reading section. Your goal is to simply identify the right information and locate the correct answers. You don't have to understand or remember everything you read. What you do have to do is focus on one passage and one set of questions for 20 minutes. After identifying the key information and finding the answers you need, you move on to a new passage and a new set of questions. You have a new focus, and you want to move on, leaving that passage you've completed behind you. And that's your goal. So how can you get this done? Well, this leads me to tip number 2. Use a keyword strategy. The way you begin to attack the reading section is with one word at a time. You identify keywords that will help you locate the answers to questions. You will identify and mark them in the questions first. After you have read the questions and identified the keywords, you will move on to the passage. And believe it or not, you will already have a good idea of the topic and what the passage is about before even looking at it. This is a great head start to locate the answers that you will need. So let me give you the best words to mark and identify for locating answers. First of all, underline names. The names of people are one of the most important pieces of information you will need to find correct answers. Second, mark locations, countries, cities, and towns. As a matter of fact, along with names and locations, mark any words that are capitalized. The thing about these words is that they will always be exactly the same in the passage as they are in the questions. Next, mark any dates and times you see. These are important too. Now, the next type of keyword is where you will rely on basic grammar to help you out. And these are word forms. Nouns are key identifiers. They help identify the subject or topic you are looking for. And adjectives are important too. They help to narrow down and make the subject or topic you are looking for more specific. And this also increases your chances of locating the correct answers. And one more thing about adjectives. Superlatives. Words like most, best, greatest, or first make your search even more specific. And finally, when you get to the passage, watch out for synonyms. Synonyms are different words or combinations of words that have the same meaning as the keywords you have identified in the questions. And that leads me to my third tip. Tip number 3. Skim, then scan. Now let me explain the difference between skimming and scanning and how this strategy is effective. This is where we build on the first 2 tips. So let me remind you, you aren't attempting to understand everything. Your task is to identify information and locate answers. Now that you've identified key words in the questions, it's time to go to the passage. First, you are going to skim. I'll explain scanning in a moment. Skimming is Skimming is where you go through the passage as quickly as possible, and as you go, read every word, not for understanding, but for identifying key words, phrases, and topic sentences. You will mark the same words that you identified in the questions. You are also going to keep an eye open for words and phrases that are synonyms. You'll also want to identify topic sentences in each paragraph. And this isn't too difficult. These are usually the first sentence of a paragraph. Something may even happen as you are skimming the passage, and this is a good thing. You may see a clear answer to one of the questions your first time through the passage. And if you do, answer it immediately. Now, this is a good place to give you some advice on time management in the reading section. As you prepare and practice, try to complete the process of looking at the passage and skimming in about 7 minutes. This will leave you 13 minutes to answer 13 questions, 1 minute per question. And this should be more than enough time. And if you can't locate an answer in 1 minute, discipline yourself to move on to the next one. Remember, you get 1 point for each correct answer, and you don't lose points for missed or incorrect answers. So if you don't find an answer, don't panic. Just keep moving forward. And now the last step, scanning. Here's the difference between skimming and scanning. The difference is in your goal. When you skim, you are identifying the information you will need. And when you scan, you are locating the correct answers. You will simply scan the passage and find the correct answers from the key information that you have already identified and marked. And something else will happen. The more you scan, the more familiar you will become when it comes to locating answers. And although in your time management plan, you are allowed 1 minute for each question, the time to locate correct answers will become shorter as you go, and your efficiency will increase. And then, if you have time left over at the end, you can go back and look again for some of the answers you missed. Well, I hope these tips have been helpful. I hope that you feel a little less stressed about approaching the reading section of the IELTS exam. And I'll have more tips on the other sections of the exam in the future. If you need support, encouragement, or have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me by email. Why not follow me on Facebook or check out my blog page for more IELTS insights? All the links are in the comments below. Remember, I can't promise you an 8 or 9 band score, but I can guarantee that with these tips, you will get a higher score than you would without them. All the best on your journey.